do have two ushers collect them. So our first question, and I know Milo's got strong opinions about this, but we've talked about feminism as a whole, but how do you explain male feminists, especially our friends with the air horns?
Male feminism is a sort of disease. It's a sort of brain disease brought about by, I think, low self-esteem and lack of sex. There seems to be an undercurrent in the modern progressive movement of men who are so desperate to get laid they will say literally anything. Some of those things can involve demonizing their own skin color, sexuality, and gender simply in order to get plaudits from some of the most awful women on campus. I think male feminism is a very odd phenomenon. It seems to have, this sort of particular kind of progressive male feminism seems to have popped up only really in the last couple of years, and you'll see it sometimes on the pages of Vox and BuzzFeed and Gawker and Mike and terrible places like that. And it seems mainly a result of a failure in journalism, actually. It's a failure in the way that we, as commentators and interpreters of the world, are considering our role, not as imparters of knowledge or as people who are supposed to be out there and finding the truth, but rather journalism's become about virtue signaling. And for too many of my colleagues, the primary purpose of their job, what they get up to do in the morning, is to advertise their own moral virtue. Instead of telling us about the world as it really is, instead of telling us what the problems are out there and what the various different approaches to that might be, the function of the majority of journalism, particularly, I have to say, on the left, appears to be to advertise what nice, right-thinking people we are and how much we hate sexism and racism and all that kind of thing. Now, that sort of narrative over fact, the relinquishing of evidence-based reporting in favor of a sort of narrative-based journalism that seeks to tell important stories whether or not the facts are right, is harmful for precisely the people that it is supposed to help. And the most obvious example is rape reporting. So look at Duke Lacrosse, look at UVA, look at the Jackie hoax, you look at Emma Solkowitz at the University of Columbia. The net result of journalists who don't really care about the truth, but just want to advertise what good people they are, and in very many cases these are men, particularly the male editors who commission this stuff. The result of this is that fewer women are believed, because of course these stories fall apart, because the journalist's primary purpose in writing it wasn't to tell the truth, wasn't to find out what actually happened, wasn't to unearth wrongdoing, wasn't to punish miscreants, but was rather simply to paint a picture of how he thinks the world ought to look. It's very dangerous for anybody who cares about the truth. It's very dangerous for any kind of academic inquiry, and it's cancer to journalism. And this seems to be a cancer, so I call it a disease. It seems to be a cancer that has infected the majority of American journalism. It's absolutely horrifying. And its apotheosis is the male feminist, as, you know, of sort of, I don't know, Vox and BuzzFeed folklore. A guy who will say anything, no matter how insane, knowingly lie to his readers. This goes way beyond negligence and into outright mendacity. Shit all over his own skin color and gender and sexuality. Brazenly lie about good, decent people, as we saw in the Gamergate controversy, which is the greatest professional failure I've ever seen in journalism. All for what? To advertise that he's a nice guy. It's a so when I say it's a sort of disease, I don't mean it lightly. It is the biggest problem in American journalism, and I'm willing to bet it's a significant component in the problems in American academia too.
What he meant to say is they're well-intended but misguided.